Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's event. I'm Kate Smeissner. I'm the event producer for this wonderful event. You're here joining us. I come from Impact Media Partners. We are a social impact and communications agency that supports filmmakers and other storytellers to build audiences, create impact, and secure the funding to move their projects forward. It has been an absolute thrill to work with the Make a Circle team, and I'm excited to get to show you some pretty substantial clips from the film today. Our event will be hosted by filmmaker Jen Bradwell and feature a series of incredible experts that you will be meeting later today. And what else is there to say? Let's jump in and start. I'm going to begin by showing you the trailer for Make a Circle, and then you will be meeting Jen.
I love this work. But parents can't afford to pay. Teachers can't afford to stay.
Childcare now! Childcare now! Childcare now! What is it?
We have families that are homeless and are really struggling. I tell my staff, this is Disneyland. Make it happen.
Thank you.
I love this torture. I love it. I love it.
No, tell her with your words.
But I could be driving an Amazon delivery truck and making more money.
I'm angry that our society doesn't support this field enough for you to stay in this work.
We're not the Girls Glee Club. We're going to talk about policy, how we can better our lives. That's why you are here.
We're coming and saying, you can't ignore us.
Childcare now! When we fight, we win! When we fight, we win!
Let me see those muscles.
Oh!
Welcome, Jen.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks everyone for joining us here today. Feel free to say something about yourself in the chat and where you're coming in from. It's such a cool cross section of people that are joining us. I saw Belgium, I saw Hawaii. We might break Zoom right now. I just want to say over the last few years of working on this film, we've been really inspired by the people like yourselves that are with us here today, whose calling is the care and education of young children and families. And you folks, we have noticed you tend to skew brilliant and thoughtful and fun and have so many superpowers when it comes to storytelling and connecting with people. And that's really what we're going to focus on today, is storytelling as a tool for education and advocacy around early care and education. I also want to acknowledge our early educator community and the countless thousands of families in the LA area who are facing wildfire devastation right now. That we're going to drop a link in the chat where we've collected some resources for folks who are impacted, as well as ideas for helping to support folks who are impacted. Natural disasters and the pandemic are obviously these ongoing harsh reminders about the fragility of our childcare system and the need for more public funding. And that requires education and advocacy. So very relevant to why we're all here today. I'm going to give you a little preview of our time together. We're going to be seeing several extended scenes from Make a Circle. We're going to have 3 special guests join us to hear their wisdom and experience around narrative change and policy change around ECE. And then we're going to talk about how you can access the film through the Good Docs platform and share the tools we've created to help you make the most of your screening and discussion and kind of next action steps. And we're also going to introduce our first round of mini grants that we're going to make available to advocates who are looking for some extra support to host their own screening events. So Kate, if you could share our intro slideshow now. Just going to show you some examples of how folks across the country are using Make a Circle as a tool in their work on this issue. And as we see these examples, I'll give you a little background on our project. My husband and co-director, Todd Buckelhide, and our producer, Rebecca Ferguson, we are filmmakers who have been lucky enough to work on a number of award-winning documentaries that play a role in narrative change that can lead to cultural change and policy change around various issues. But Make a Circle was not our bright idea. The idea actually came from a group of early educators who were frustrated, not just by the low pay and the difficult working conditions, but really the lack of respect and understanding about their work. Even in media that is about early care and education, they were not seeing many teachers or actual teaching represented. And, they have even like their family members will say things like, so you're just changing diapers all day, right? Or maybe they'll be at a party and meet a high school teacher who doesn't, it's clear that they don't see the early educators' work as real teaching. And so while it's great that there's growing awareness of how important the first 5 years of life are for brain development and life outcomes and all of the economic benefits of investing in childcare, there's still this persistent myth of the work of ECE being akin to babysitting, and it's not visible enough. How can we value what we're not properly seeing? And so that's the heart of the narrative change idea around this work. Most media coverage about childcare talks about it like it's just a safe parking place for kids until real learning starts in kindergarten, and so parents can be in the workforce. And that lack of respect for all that it takes to support children and families is, part of what perpetuates this broken market that's not working for anyone. So we've told ourselves kind of the wrong story about this work and this workforce, and it's time to start telling a different one. So that seeded the idea was, let's just make the work visible. Let's show all of the skill and the impact and the joy of this work. That was their brief to us. Please foreground the joy of our work so that we can fall in love with some of the amazing people that do it, both in preschool and family childcare environments. And then once we've fallen in love with these amazingly talented educators, let's be really honest about the struggles to stay in a profession that pays well below living wage, and where a lack of benefits might mean that you have to return to work the next day after having a major surgery, like one of our film participants does. And then let's also show examples of their advocacy and action making positive change for themselves and their communities. So let's have the teaching, the struggle, but also the solutions. And film is just a great medium to hold all of that. So I like to think of Make a Circle as a charm offensive. And as filmmakers, we've seen on other projects how this recipe of, falling in love, and following really charming characters on their against the odds journeys for the greater good, stir up a lot of emotions. This is a recipe that can really move people and stay with them. And they can make the data that's in a PowerPoint or a fact sheet come to life. We think that these kind of stories can be a powerful tool in the toolbox for people to connect with the urgency of your issue, hear your message, take the data seriously, et cetera. So our brains are wired for story and human connection, and we are taking a cue from early educators with our film here, so that once you make a connection with someone, that's when they can truly learn from you, whether they're 7 months old or 70 years old. So let's see some of Make a Circle, and then we're going to bring in our guest speakers. So this first clip that we're going to show you here, we're dropping in a few minutes into the beginning of the film. We've just met a couple of very cool preschool teachers at All People's School. And then we meet Anne, who is the school director, and she's just been subbing in a classroom because there are always teacher shortages and she has to be on the floor to fill in. And we'll come in as she's meeting with a colleague of hers named Tony in the back office to figure out how they're going to hire more teachers. And from there, we'll see how the plot thickens and who else we meet.
Here's decline for a different position. No show for observation. No show. No answer for phone interview.
Oh man, come on.
Declined because pay was lower than what I expected. I got nothing. You know, there's plenty of studies that you can look at that will tell you if you get really high quality early care and education, you're going to thrive and go on to be more prosperous in your life. But there's a really big disconnect.
With celebration rather than like...
There's a slogan, parents can't afford to pay, teachers can't afford to stay. Because what we would actually have to charge parents to pay teachers the professional wage they need and deserve would be unaffordable to families. Right now, it's a very broken system.
Daycare centers across the state forced to shut down to help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
Giving child care centers until Friday night to close.
Parents, they're saying this is so hard to have an infant and be expected to work from home.
Remember how to say imagination in sign language? And I hope you can use your imagination today, and maybe you could pretend to be at school. Because I really miss being at school.
We don't have the loan money right now. That's all a wish and a dream.
Okay, Alison.
Pay the bills now.
Where's the ocean? Okay. Oh, this one. I change my books every week. I have a lot. Oh, they love this one. This one is my favorite. Okay, I'm coming. Everything is closed. Family childcare providers, we have our facilities open. We're the essential workers for those essential workers. Okay, bye-bye. That is really risky. You want to build your own farm here? Okay. This is so cool. Good job, Giovanni. Okay. Hi, papi. Oh, ¿cómo estás tú?
Sad.
Sad. Why?
Mad.
Having a child who's having trouble with himself, trying to help him to understand their own feelings. That's my goal. Christian, stop. Christian. Stephanie, you can use your words and say, don't do that to me. She said, don't do that again, okay?
I almost said with him.
Yeah, but you need to ask her nicely.
Nicely, steadily, can we sail? What? Yeah, you can play.
Oh, good. Good job, guys. Good job. What about you? Okay, puppy. I'm working 16 hours a day. 16 hours a day and Saturdays. It's exhausting. But I love it. I love this torture. I love it. I
All right, the only makeup tutorial we need. Before we bring in our special guests, I'll just say that, this film is unabashedly from the early educator's perspective, but we also have several scenes throughout the film that really try to be in the kids' perspective. And let's just be in these moments of seeing the gears turn and them learning through their play, their big emotions. So we have a few scenes, such as the one you just saw sprinkled throughout Make a Circle. All right, as our guests turn their cameras and their mics on, I'm going to give very brief intros so we can get more FaceTime with them, but we're going to post some longer versions of their bios in the Zoom chat. Patricia Moran, you'll recognize from the film. She's a longtime early educator and a founder and leader of the Child Care Providers United Union that is featured in Make a Circle. Alison Hooper is a professor of early childhood education at the University of Alabama and also has experience as an early educator and kindergarten teacher herself. And Albert Watt is the senior policy director at the Alliance for Early Success, which works with early childhood policy advocates at the state level to ensure that every child has an opportunity to learn, grow, and succeed. Patricia, Alison, and Albert, you are all advocates for ECE in your various ways. And I'd love if we could go around and just hear a little bit about your approach to advocacy and how you've used Make a Circle in your work. And then after we do those introductions, I'd love to get your thoughts on the scenes that we just screened. So Patricia, I would love to start with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jane. Yeah, it's very wonderful to work with children, to understand their emotions, to understand what they, sometimes, they struggle how to express that emotion. It's amazing job. But at the same time, it's something like the childcare providers. We are facing too many challenges because it's the beauty of the daycare, the beauty of to be the kids, but at the same time, we, like I said before, we are facing a lot of struggles. Struggles of working extra hours, overtime, and the most very sad for us is not to be recognize our jobs, to be a professional, say early educators. We are not receiving that value in our jobs. Then we are not receiving the payment to be that professionals. And they mistreat us, like they are saying we are changing diapers only. And that's really, really very injustice, very unfair. That's why, I have my daycare and I'm speaking, from on behalf of the providers that we are facing that situations every single day. But at the same time, we enjoy our amazing job. We love our children. Thank you.
Alison?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to host a campus screening of the film here at University of Alabama in the fall, and we partnered with one of our state nonprofit organizations, Alabama Partnership for Children. So it was a great collaborative event with a diverse audience. We had educators, center-based and family child care educators there, community leaders, students, undergraduate and graduate students, in a panel discussion. So that was, I think, a great way to use the film, and I really look forward to using it in my courses as well. And when I think about my own kind of journey to advocacy, I'm trained as an elementary education, early childhood education teacher, and advocacy was really not part of my training, and it wasn't really something that I saw as my role, and that I've kind of come to through my work in the classroom, and then also my research and getting to know a lot of childcare educators and see their work and hear their stories. So I want my students, who are training to be teachers or already working in the field, to see how they can be involved in advocacy, and whether they go to work in the public schools, which is what many of them do aspire to do, that they're still part of this profession, and we have a responsibility towards each other. So I just think that the film has so many wonderful uses for raising awareness, whether you're new to early childhood and you don't know much about it. I think it's really eye-opening. That also, if you are in the field, it also helps you think through a lot of issues and challenges from different perspectives. So I've just really enjoyed it and appreciated it as a tool, and look forward to using it more.
Thanks, Allison. I often feel like anyone who can command the attention of 12 toddlers at a time has some natural public speaking ability. So we're hoping that we can prove that to more people who are in the field too. Albert.
Great. Thank you for having me here. I am such a big fan of this film. And when I bumped into Patricia in an NAYC conference last November, and I had a little fanboy moment. I was, oh my God, I recognize her. She's one of the stars in the movie. I have to go say hi. So it's really an honor for me to be here. Thank you for having me. So in terms of my advocacy journey, I've been kind of doing this kind of work, which is to say supporting state level early childhood policy and advocacy work at the national level for almost 20 years. And I have to say my approach to advocacy has really evolved. And for the most of my time doing this work, my approach has been pretty traditional. So, which is to say, like, I think policy should be informed by research and evidence, that, we identify those really important decision makers and elected officials and the people who influence them. And then we use like communication strategies and strategic messaging to kind of make the case and convince them to invest in these programs. And we, advocates can engage, grassroots voices like providers and educators and parents, to inform them what's going on, to get ideas and, kind of get ideas from them, and maybe to put them in front of the decision makers from time to time. But at the end of the day, the advocates kind of, their job is to develop policy and to get it passed. And the early child educators and families, oftentimes are too busy. They might not have the experience or the expertise to engage in that process. That's what we think a lot of times. But that again my thinking around that has evolved in recent years. So and one of the things that that has changed is really understanding lived experience of the educators, of the families, as a form of evidence that should also inform policy, along with the research and the data and the evidence. That's still very important. I also think it's really important to build power among the educators and parents, the people who are most impacted, and really supporting the professional full-time advocates to collaborate with community organizers and people with lived experience in an authentic way, and to really share power and leadership with these with the parent leaders and the educators, not just getting their ideas and using them as mouthpieces, but really sitting on a table with them and co-creating solutions and advocating with them and not just for them. We've at the Alliance, with some of the work that we've done to kind of operationalize that change is through an initiative we call Childcare Next, and you can Google it and you can find information about it. In terms of how I've used this film, we haven't done any screenings or anything like that yet in our organization. However, a couple of months ago, I was talking to one of our early child educators who was involved in one of these coalitions I was talking about, and she was feeling a little demoralized and not sure how much her work is making a difference, and the pace of change seems to be really slow. And I said, you need to watch this movie. You need to watch Make a Circle, because it sometimes the pace of change does seem slow, but if you come together with your peers, you have a united front, you have a united voice, change can happen. And I think this movie really shows that beautifully. And also and one of the first times that I've seen this movie was when Jen, you connected with me, and I was like, oh, I'm doing a presentation at a conference with a lot of state advocates and administrators in early childhood, and they want to talk about grassroots leadership. I was like, this is perfect. I want to show them, that advocates, can be so much more impactful when they share that power and leadership with early childhood educators, and other people with lived experience. So I hope that people on this webinar and on this call will also use the film in those ways.
That's great, thank you. And yeah, Patricia, let me ask you, because I've been lucky to go to so many screenings, across the country with you, and I'm wondering, as a boots on the ground early educator and advocate, what is the feeling that you're getting from the audience? Like, how does the conversation go for you, like, once people see the film? I'm wondering if you can reflect on that.
Yeah, one of the it's very interesting because there are people that are in shock. They're in shock that because they didn't realize before how is our job, how we are, doing our job. That's the most impacting situation. And they're asking me questions about, or saying comments like, oh, I didn't know, the really the daycares, they provide all the emotional support to our children, the emotional in every stage. And I say, yes, we are early educators. We are professionals. We have our degrees. Of course, we are doing all the assessment to a child immediately they're in our daycare to see how the support they needed, and they're in shock in that. And at the same time, they realize that how our profession is mistreated. It's very unfair. The payments we are receiving, how we were trained, they treat us before because we were invisible. That I was very, very thankful for this amazing film because it's open to the minds, it's open the eyes of a lot of people. It's raising our voice through this film because we are showing the beauty of the daycare, but at the same time the challenge that we are facing. That's people that start having a lot of questions and more questions about how they are going to support us to receive a fair pay, to receive more support. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. It's a really big responsibility that we feel to do justice to your story and other early educator story, because we know it's a lot to do in one film. And so, we only want to help amplify all of the good work that you're already doing. We're going to watch another scene from the film right now. So this will be a couple of different scenes that feature preschool teacher Dan, as well as the director of the school, Anne. And she's grappling with how to hang on to the talented teachers that she has in her school. So we'll see clip number 2 now.
Stop. Did you bite somebody? Did you bite somebody? Then remember, your words are faster than your body. No, tell her with your words. Tell her with your words. Did you want to have a turn? Then you need to tell her. I want to have a turn. Are you done? Come here. Are you done?
No.
Then you tell her this. I'm not done yet.
I'm not done yet.
I'm pretty sure you're paying $100 a month. That means we have 5 more months.
Okay, so.
Meanwhile, it feels unwise to not have a buffer right now.
Right.
Just in case, school closes, they can't pay you.
Right.
We're stressed out. I mean, it's got to be coming through for her.
She woke up this morning and I was like, how was your sleep? And she says, I didn't hit any of my friends. I said, you're right, because you were sleeping.
Great start. Did you have a good nap?
We both have childhood traumas, and we don't want to see Maisie go through what we had to go through.
Yeah.
1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3.
I want to make sure that she knows better than I did that her body is really important and to be treasured and respected by everybody, including herself.
Did you just push it off? Like, come here, I want to have a turn. Don't push me, I'm on the swing. Yeah, okay.
Parenting.
Parenting, you're doing great. You know that? If I die and come back, I want you to be my mom. Okay? Will you be?
All right, that took a turn.
I don't want to leave early childhood. But I could be driving an Amazon delivery truck and making more money. I am wanting to reach out to you and ask about the credential program. My goal is to acquire my multi-subject teaching credential and shift to the elementary grades. Please get back to me at your earliest convenience. Thank you.
Missing, that we beg, borrow, and steal.
Yeah.
That's the funds we need.
One of the things that I read in this federal plan, I think it's great that they're talking about wages and how detrimental it is for ECE teachers to be paid so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
But then the answer is to raise them to at least $15 an hour.
Oh, I know.
That
Yeah.
makes me sick.
Yeah.
How is $15 an hour a livable professional wage?
Yeah.
It is not.
And we have to find another way to sustain instead of charging more tuition, which is really hard for parents. Or your GoFundMe idea every year.
Susan has a mantra that she taught me when I became a director, and that is, if you don't feed the teachers, they will eat the children. And pretty much everything that we do is to feed the teachers as the central organizing aspect of the school. They need to have benefits, including paid time off, making sure that teachers have planning time, professional development. But it's really challenging to feed the teachers in this broken system.
Those are nasturtiums. You can eat those. Will you pick one for me to eat?
Yes, I will. You can have this one.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's very kind of you. Thank you. I'm scared. Should I be scared?
No, you should be happy.
Will you point your magic wand and help me to be happy? Here I go.
And the kids are little way.
I am happy now. I'm not scared. I am happy. I got nasturtium power. Woo, those are spicy.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm really just stressed. I have 7 applications into elementary schools, 3 interviews next week. I actually was told the other day, and in another interview, I understand that you've got a lot of preschool teaching, but how in the world do you think that's going to apply to teaching in real school?
Oh my God.
And I immediately was
How
like, well, I won't be
insulting.
fucking working there.
Right.
They said, guess who gets you all those kids prepared for these
Yeah.
grades?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I see. I definitely hit a button. I said, you did.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. I would choose for you to stay in the field because of everything that you bring to it.
Thank you. So a part of me is like, oh shit, are you abandoning these kids?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, my preschool teachers dropping F-bombs after hours. We'll have to bleep them for the public television version. Allison, as someone who has made this transition from being an early educator and kindergarten teacher to higher ed, I'm interested in hearing what this brings up for you.
Well, so my primary role now is research. And so when I watch this, it just really, I think the film does such a good job of making the stories come to life that kind of go with some of those statistics. And so even thinking about the first clip, I think it said on the screen, you know, the average wage is $13 an hour. And so I think you can see that and you can probably be like, well, that's not enough money. They should get paid more. But then when you see in this clip, you see the impact that that has on Dan, on his family, you know, his partner, his child. Like, I think that then compels people to action. You know, you get that story to go with the data. So that's something that I really appreciate. And then I also think you see children's learning happening. And so in the first clip with the makeup, you know, that symbolic play, that is preparing children to learn to read, that they're understanding I can pretend an object is something else. That gets them ready to understand that text on a page has meaning. So those everyday experiences, they don't need to be fancy, they don't have to have technology. Like, that is how we help children learn. So I think I just love how it puts those pieces together. And so it's a tool to support research. It's a tool to support, like, here's what learning through play looks like. And then here's why we need to really care about supporting this field. And, you know, early educators tend to be others focused, you know, maybe not complain a whole lot, work really hard, be very dedicated. And so I think a film like this helps to bring to light what's happening that we might not always talk about.
Okay. Albert, yeah, I'm curious what it brings up for you in terms of, you know, when you're thinking about the national landscape for this workforce.
Yeah, I mean, and Patricia and other have already talked about, you know, the misconception about what early childhood educators do, and that people don't think this takes a lot of skills. So on the one hand, right, we talk about child brain development and how important that is, and people understand, I think, intuitively, even like the importance of the first, you know, 5 years, you know, 8 years of life. On the other hand, we think that anybody can do this job. Anybody off the street, you can just kind of get in an early child education program and they can do it. And I think that's why this kind of visual storytelling, whether it's a video or a movie, is so powerful, because we can write about, you know, development appropriate practice, or we can write about child-centered learning, we can write about practice, but until people see it, you know, and sort of like the whole old adage of like show don't tell, right? And you can see it, especially people who don't know anything about early child education, to kind of hear how Patricia explains what she does, or how Dan explains what he was doing, and just see those interactions with the kids is so powerful, and really help us break free of those narratives about the value of this, or the you know, misconception about the value of this work, you know, and then see folks like Patricia and others as really skilled professionals that they are. And I think the storytelling is also power buildings, you know, tool, and maybe Patricia can talk about, like, the more I think early child educators can talk about their experiences, tell the story that they want to tell rather than like what other people want them to tell. It helps them build a confidence that they have something to share, they have something to contribute, and can change, you know, the system and policies through their story. So yeah, it's a great tool.
Thank you. So Patricia, I'm thinking about something that Charlotte, who's another family childcare provider in the film, I'm thinking of something that she says all the time, which is that we are the make or break for these kids. And I'm wondering, you know, like what you wish your fellow educators who teach older humans, what you wish they understood maybe better about your work, because I know they're always happy to be on the receiving end of kids who have quality early learning experiences, and yet they might look at the early educator workforce in a different light. So I wonder what you think about that.
You know, I think one of the things is very important for us, the early educators, because we had those brains, you know, they are completely new. You know, they're learning everything around them. And that's, you know, It's beautiful, but at the same time, it's a lot of responsibility for an early educator and ECE. I hear something so important, and I like to repeat it. They told me, one of my professors in the university, remember, a child is like a butterfly in your hands. You are going to help them to fly very high, or you can squash them. And our job is to help them. And for me, the most important part is the social emotional development of a child. Understand that each child is different and they're coming from different environments. And we need to understand the families, the environment. A child who's coming for a single man that is living a car, he doesn't have the same experience that a child is in a completely different environment. We need to support those children, the families, our community. I think the early educators, we need to think about, the responsibility. I'm not going to be tired to repeat that. It's a big responsibility because we are helping a child who's very shy to stand up for their own emotions and stand up for themselves and say, no, I don't like what you are doing. And also a child who's really coming with a lot of energy, say, okay, we are going to help them to develop empathy. If we have that balance, we are going to have a great, the children can be together, they play together, not feeling so shy or not feeling so bad or another one very, very bullies, we can help them. That's important. That's my message for the early educators. We need to take care of their children's emotions, the emotional stage. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's always amazing to see you in action as a teacher because you're doing curriculum, you're cooking, you're helping a kid who's having big feelings. Like there are so many things that you seem to be doing entirely at once. And I'm guessing that the average like high school math teacher would not last 10 minutes in in a learning setting like that. It's so much. And so the film is really trying to appreciate the tremendous amount of skill that it takes to do this work and seeing all the great impacts that it has both for kids and their families. So we're gonna see the final scene right now, and this is one where we'll get to see Patricia really in action as an organizer and advocate. This is towards the end of the film. So we've in the early part of the film, we've seen that the Child Care Providers United Union, which represents family child care providers like Patricia in California, who take subsidy program kids, their contract is about to expire, their contract with the state of California. And we've seen Patricia go back to work right after having a major surgery because there is no paid time off benefit. And the union is fighting for higher pay and basic benefits so folks like Patricia can stay in this work. But the state has been playing hardball so far and saying no to all of their proposals. So now it's time for the union to turn up the volume, and this is the scene.
This Friday is the end of our contract. If we don't have any resolution, it's going to be very bad. Toda la energía que necesitamos y vamos a ganar y digamos, ¡sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! In one of the meetings, the state told us we were like essential workers. when was the pandemic, but we are not essential anymore.
We don't have a union, but we are all the same. We are all connected. We're all doing the same care and education of young children in all of our different ways. And we're coming and saying, you can't ignore us. Look at that. Oh, it's a sea of yellow. What is the common goal? It's to have teaching be seen as a profession that is respected and compensated.
Bienvenidos a todos. Soy una inmigrante al igual que casi la mitad de todos los que conformamos nuestra industria.
We are not babysitters.
You know, things will really be different once nobody ever has to say that we're not babysitters.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Proveedoras unidas jamás serán vencidas. ¡Sí se puede!
We're here to campaign. We're here to get a retirement. A time off.
Appreciate everybody taking the time to come in on out here and meeting with me. Agradezco que tomaron su tiempo para venir y explicar sus situaciones.
My name is Patricia Moran. I've been through a surgery almost 3 weeks ago. After I returned from the hospital, the next day I was working because I can't afford it to close my daycare.
We risked our homes, our business, our families' lives, and you have given us nothing to show for it.
Muchas proveedoras estamos en riesgo de cerrar nuestras puertas y miles han cerrado sus puertas.
One more. I do have to get moving on shortly, so just...
I'll make it faster.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a cancer survivor, and I also have multiple sclerosis. I need the healthcare, and providers like me are struggling. We need your assistance, and we need fair wages so I can put my children through college.
I will pass it on to the governor for you, ma'am.
I need more than a pass on. His kids are taken care of, mine are not.
Right.
We need help now.
Yes.
Right now.
All right, so spoiler alert. You see that there's an interesting dynamic in that last scene of, the family child care providers are advocating, but maybe not being taken very seriously by their representative of the governor and who chose to wear a bow tie that day and keep looking at his watch. But because of the tremendous advocacy of CCPU, the state turned around at the 11th hour and gave the family child care providers and CCPU a big reimbursement rate increase, healthcare funding, a first in the nation retirement benefit, and a pathway to rates that will eventually reflect the true cost of care. Make a Circle is not a policy prescription for every state and every community, but we see it as a call to action and just a powerful example of collective action to make real change on this issue. And we've made a point at every screening to have a local early educator present to speak to the needs of the workforce in that community. So we want this to be a tool for amplifying voices and building coalitions. As we get some final thoughts from our special guests here, Patricia, I'm wondering, could you maybe talk about your next steps for the union and maybe folks who are in anti-union states, what advice you might have for them?
Right now, I'm part of the third term of negotiation team. And now one of the things, we can change things. We can change things through the union. Because before, we were invisible. They were not listening us anymore. And one of the things I like to, say is, we are a very important part of the economy, because family childcare providers provide the care of the kids in order the parents they can go to work. It's not only a job from 8 to 5 o'clock. No, we have our family daycares open weekends, night times, every 24 hours. And so we support the economy. And those parents, they pay taxes. Unfortunately, we didn't receive the support that we needed. Right now, we are facing the situation that we need those payments through the truly cost of the daycare, because too many providers are closing doors. San Jose area where I'm from, I have my daycare, is already declared desert area for daycares because it's really hard to maintain open the doors. That's, I want to say is the only thing we had the opportunity to change things, not completely, not like one of the leaders say, we have from 0 to 10, but we need to have from 0 to 100%. Because the only way we did it is to be together, to be united, and raise our voice. I'd like to thank you, all of us, for the support. And thank you again. Thank you so much for this amazing film, Jane, because you are supporting us to raise our voice because we were invisible. Thank you. I appreciate that. Muchas gracias.
Thank you,
Y sí
Patricia.
se puede. Y sí se
Wait,
puede.
not everyone can be as amazing as Patricia, but there is a Patricia in every community who is just waiting to hear, like, how can we support you and how can we help amplify your efforts? So thank you, Patricia, for everything you do. Alison, any final thoughts or advice for us?
So every time I see the film or clips of the film, I just, get inspired all over again. And so seeing the educators, advocating so powerfully, but then it also, makes me angry that they have to spend their time doing this when they're already working 12-hour plus days. And we know all the challenges around pay and working conditions, and that they are adding this to their plate to help other early educators, is really, I see as a call to action for myself as someone in sort of a different role now working in higher education, just a reminder of how much we could all do to try to support the field. So I just appreciate that every time I see it, I get something new, and I really hope that people attending now will be able to bring the film to their own community. It's just been really powerful showing it here on campus. And so I think it's just such a wonderful tool and resource. And it's been great to be here today to talk about it.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you so much for your work too. Okay, Albert, how are we going to build an early care and education system that works for everyone?
That's only 1 minute, right? So
No
I
pressure.
think this last clip really paints a great picture of the importance of having people who are most impacted leading the advocacy work, not just being involved, but really leading the advocacy work. For them, for people like Patricia, this is their lives. This is their livelihood. They can't go back home and compartmentalize. Like for those of us who work in this field, like we can go home and we can like not think about it, but like this, like they have to think about it 24/7. It's just really visceral for them. And so I think that sometimes, advocates, they want to present, to elected officials in a certain way. They, look a certain way with the right tone, with the right talking points. And what this shows is that when you tell us the story from a very, very personal, very visceral, maybe even a little bit messier kind of way, there's power in that too. That last interaction with the policymaker, when the woman interrupts him, it's like, no, I need you to do more than pass on a message. Like a professional advocate probably won't do that. They might not advise people to do that, but like that was so powerful. And so, I just want, I think we need to embrace that, this kind of storytelling, this kind of advocacy with people, with lived experience at the leadership, in leadership roles. And it doesn't have to be a union. There are other places we've seen red states, blue states, doing this kind of work, whether there's a union or not. So it is very powerful.
Thank you, Albert. And thanks for all of you for bringing your expertise to this event. If you'd like to leave any information in the chat for folks to learn more about your work, please do so. And I will say thank you one more time, and we'll switch gears to show our guests here, the nitty-gritty of how you can all access the film and share it with your networks. So Kate, can you start the final slides? Great. Okay, so here's what we have with the film. We have the 89-minute full feature version that's available right now. We're doing a slightly shorter version that would be great for a lot of like educational and conference contexts, or even legislator screenings where programming a feature-length film is not always possible. And then we also have are making like kind of scene selections available to folks, maybe 10 to 15 minutes worth plus the trailer. If you want something just really like bite-sized and targeted for your educational or advocacy purposes. Our hour-long version of the film is coming probably like February or March, should be available. And then we also have versions with Spanish subtitles where English is being spoken, and obviously, English subtitles and Spanish is being spoken. So great for different audiences. And then we've created a bunch of materials to help you have a really successful screening and conversation afterwards. These are on our website, which we'll link to. Discussion activity guide, advocacy and organizing toolkit that has a lot of great advice for folks that are just stepping into advocacy and curious about that. Graphic invite templates for social media or invitations to help promote a screening, checklist of how to have things go. Let's go to the next slide. So this is how the film is available now. We're partnering with Good Docs, which is a great distributor that makes things really easily accessible, not just for academic institutions, but also nonprofit and community groups, conferences, libraries, etc. So this is the website you can check out to see what kind of pricing and screening makes sense for your institution and your event. Go to the next slide. And then microgrants. All right, we're really, really excited to announce this. So we've long known that there are, especially a lot of like professional organizations of early educators out there, folks that are wanting to advocate more, or just wanting to, do more coalition building. And they might, have very deep networks, but not deep pockets. And so we're really pleased to offer this first round of mini grants to help offset the cost of putting on a screening. So, things like catering and facility rentals. So if you're interested in that, please check out the FAQ. And then we have a pretty simple application. We tried to make it as simple as possible. So let us know. If you want to apply, please do so by February the 28th. And we're going to let folks know who we can give the grants to by March 31st. And we're hoping that this is good timing for, things like the Day Without Childcare event in May, or Teacher Appreciation, or NACCE's Week of the Young Child. Hopefully be good timing for considering an event in the spring like that. We can go to the next slide. And we are coming to public television in September. So we will be showing at PBS stations across the country starting in September, and then probably a window later into the fall, maybe early next year, and also available on the PBS app and the website. So that'll make it really accessible for folks. We're hoping that everyone that we touch over the impact campaign, we can turn back to them and say, okay, this is like a time to invite the parents in your community, the families to see the film, see our shared story, and start a conversation about what next. And I know that we're at time, so I will race to the finish line here. Last slide. Please get in touch with us. We're on social media, send us an email. We've got a mailing list. We're not just sharing stuff about the film and what we're doing with it, although we're hoping that's inspiring for folks. We're also sharing, really like solutions-oriented ideas of what people are doing across the country to make sure we have a system that works for everybody. So thank you so much for joining us today. Please be in touch, and we hope to see you at a screening. sometime. Thanks, everybody.